You know, Little Boosie said in an interview that most rappers get killed in their own city, and that's a fact. Let's take a look at some rappers that was killed in their own city, right? You got Nipsey Hussle, who was killed right in front of his own store. Big L, who was killed by one of his friends in Harlem. Soulja Slim got killed in his mother's yard. Proof from D12 and Eminem them was killed at a club in Detroit. Yaki Gaddafi, Tupac's half-brother, was killed at an apartment by Outlaw's members, Napoleon's cousin, and the list just goes on and on. Got about 20 more rappers I can name, but this story is about a beautiful singer named LaLa Brown, a rising R&B star who was just coming into her own before her life was taken in her own city. Let's get right to it, right? Now, LaLa Brown was born on May 20th, 1986 in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Now, she was the youngest of 5 children, born to an African-American father, William Brown, and a French-Canadian-Mexican mother named Maria Brown. Now, since a little girl, LaLa's dream was to become an entertainer after she discovered she had a natural gift for singing, dancing, and writing her own songs. By the age of 9, she was serious about singing, and her family really believed in her, and they were her biggest fans. Now, her father believed in her so much that he retired early from his job at a steel plant to focus full-time on her career. And that's when LaLa started getting voice lessons, meeting with managers, doing talent shows, and singing jingles for local radio stations. She also would sing at bars, weddings, going by the name Premier. By the age of 16, she ended up getting pregnant, giving birth to a beautiful baby girl while still in high school. Now with a daughter, LaLa was determined to provide for her child, and that's when she started traveling to Atlanta and New York to auditions to try to get a record deal. And her chance finally came when she ended up meeting R&B singer Lyfe Jennings, who at the time was working on his second album. Now, after hearing LaLa's voice, Lyfe Jennings signed her to his label called Jesus Swings, and also put her on his first single titled SEX, which was about young teens losing their virginity from pressure. The song SEX debuted on the Billboard Hot 100 chart at number 99 and was the top 5 hit on the Billboard Hot R&B Hip Hop Songs chart, receiving a lot of airplay on the radio during that time. The video was directed by Benny Boom and was in heavy rotation on BET and MTV, and people were blown away by LaLa vocals and her stunning beauty. And she was a beautiful girl. Now, after that, Lyfe Jennings went on tour and LaLa rode with him, thinking that she finally made it big time and was on her way to achieving her lifelong dream of becoming a star. But months after touring, Lyfe Jennings and LaLa went separate ways after having a lot of disagreements, so he kicked her off the tour. After leaving the tour, LaLa was hurt and decided to go back home to Milwaukee with no recording contract and no money. But she never gave up on her career as a singer. And that's when she got with a local producer she knew named Kool-Aid, who at the time was one of the best producers in the area and was getting ready to do some music with Jay-Z. Now, once LaLa got with Kool-Aid, they started working on some songs for her solo album. And next thing you know, their relationship became romantic and they started dating, living in a recording studio together. Now, some of the songs they worked on was a track called I'm Feeling It, Rescue Me, and Give Them What They Want, which was a song about her life. Ready to take her career to the next level, she began performing in clubs trying to promote herself and her music. And she was about to head back to New York to meet with agents. But see, during that time, where she was from, there was a lot of jealousy and envy from her city. and she started receiving threatening phone calls and hang-ups. I mean, it got to the point where she had to file a restraining order down at the police station. Right after that, Kool-Aid's studio, where they lived at, ended up getting robbed for $10,000 worth of studio equipment. After that incident, Kool-Aid filed a police report, but LaLa felt scared for her life and started looking for an apartment far away from the studio. The next day, LaLa and Kool-Aid had dinner with her parents, and afterwards, her parents dropped them off back at the studio. Days later, nobody heard from them, and her parents went by the studio to check on them, but no one came to the door, but the light was on. The next day, her parents drove by the studio again and saw the lights were still on, and asked the owner of the studio if he could open up the building for them, but he said legally he couldn't unless they had a missing persons warrant. So that's when LaLa's parents reported her missing. And on October 19th, 2007, after not hearing from LaLa and Kool-Aid in 4 days, Kool-Aid's brother decided to go by the studio and kick the door open. When he walked in, he smelled a foul odor. When he went towards the back room, he found them shot to death, with their bodies decomposing, making them almost unrecognizable. Now, police say the scene was very bloody and messy inside the studio. They found Kool-Aid seated in a chair, leaned back because of where he had been shot in the left eye, and the other shot was in his hand from where he was assumed to be trying to defend himself by putting his hands up. And LaLa was suspected to have tried to run away, but was blocked by a wall and was shot in the back. She also had a gunshot wound to her neck, right shoulder, her left lower back, and through her right forearm, and a graze right on her right side of her chest and right upper arm. Man, and she won't nothing but a little small thing too, man. And they shot her multiple times like that. Cold-blooded evil, man. The Milwaukee Police Department claimed they had potential suspects based on petty beefs or debts owed by Kool-Aid to various guys he knew from the neighborhood, but they didn't have enough evidence to make an arrest though. The autopsy showed that they were shot from a distance, not close range, and apparently they knew the person because they let them in the studio and went back to working on the music, showing they was comfortable with whoever it was. There was no witness, even though plenty of people came and went through the studio all the time. Hundreds of people attended LaLa's funeral, including Life Jennings, and the case was featured on America's Most Wanted in February 2010 and TV1's Celebrity Crime Files, but still had not been solved. In 2016, police say they have a suspect in custody in Arizona on other charges that is being looked at in the connection with their murders, but that person still hasn't been charged yet. They say the suspect is not going nowhere right now, so they're not rushing it, and they would like to bring him back to Milwaukee to stand trial. And it's now up to the Milwaukee District Attorney's Office to file charges. And LaLa parents said they don't know what's the holdup on the case. So as of today, the case still remains unsolved. LaLa does have some music out there you can check out on YouTube and other digital platforms. And I did see some songs on YouTube she did with another female artist named Lori Marzette as the duo Eye Candy, and they sound real good together, man. Sounds real good. You know, as I was doing my research for LaLa's story, a lot of the comments I seen from people from her hometown said there's a lot of hate in Milwaukee towards people who's trying to make it out. But I'm here to tell you, that's in every city if you're trying to do something positive with yourself. And there's always someone close to you that's just don't want to see you make it. So I'm looking forward to seeing y'all comments on this episode. And shout outs to my CU crew. That's what I call my celebrity underrated fans. CU crew. What I really love about this channel is the comments. I learned a lot of info from y'all comments, man. LaLa Brown was 21 years old and Kool-Aid was 22 years old. R.I.P. to both of them, LaLa Brown and Kool-Aid.